Hey, I'm Dr. Ruth Roberts, the original holistic pet health coach, and with me today is Leah Bookhamer, one of our certified holistic pet health coaches, as well as a human health coach. So, Leah, welcome. And we were chatting a little bit earlier. I think I jokingly called you the detox queen, but that really is sort of first and foremost at your wheelhouse. But tell me a little bit about how you went into the human health coaching world.
Um, Hi, everybody. Good to be here. Thank you for having me, Dr. Ruth. Gosh, my health started declining in my late 20s. Didn't realize it. Was just I used to work out twice a day. I was going to school full time, working full time, really spreading myself thin. And I started feeling more tired. Couldn't quite work out twice a day anymore. And, um, it just progressed into my 30s, went to doctor after doctor. They just told me I was stressed out. And of course, this is like 30 years ago. No one was talking Hashimoto's, no one was talking autoimmune. They would run labs on me. You're perfectly fine, just rest more.
Yeah.
So finally, around my mid 30s, I found a doctor that listened to me. I remember getting up. We had moved back to San Diego, and I literally would hike a day, and I would have to take 3 days off. So I hopped up on his table and I said, "Do I need iron?" And he goes, "Well, let's run some labs." And he called me at like 6 in the next morning, and he goes, "You need to be on thyroid medication." Of course, I had gone so long undiagnosed. I will probably always be on thyroid medication. But anyway, that got me into looking for alternatives and searching and searching. And at that time, no one, I have a holistic doctor now, and have been using her, and I only go to her. I take my labs to her, and because I've been trained now for the last almost 10 years, and she listens to me. We sit down for an hour, and she'll do whatever I suggest and support me in my journey. But medication isn't always the answer. The answer is really creating that foundation of diet. When I started changing my diet, I asked doctor after doctor, "Do I need to be gluten free? Do I need to be grain free?" And I don't know. I don't know. So, finally, I found a holistic practitioner that just like slammed me on the head with a hammer, not literally, but he's like, "You have to be gluten free." And that changed my world. And from there, I was like, "Oh my gosh, I got to dig into nutrition." And I found Nutritional Therapy Association, went back to school in my early 50s, and made changes for my whole family and started working with people. And then I was like, what about my animals? This food that we're feeding them can't be great. Um, my first dog that my husband and I had together, she lived to about almost 15, but had issues along the way. I thought she was healthy, right? But I gave her those horrible bones, the rawhide. Gosh. And anyway, I've changed so many things now. And then in the last year and a half, I had 3 of my dogs die from cancer. I had other dogs die from cancer, but it didn't really correlate with diet and other things going on in their life. And um, I was like, my last one, he was only made to 8, and he was just all of my dogs are heart dogs, but he was just held a really special place. And as I get emotional still, it's been over a year, and he passed away right after his 8th birthday from cancer, all in his spine. And I'm like, what the heck? And I literally 3 weeks later, you came into my radar. And I'm like, I told my husband, I have to take this course. I am got to learn what is going on and how I can help my babies live healthier. longevity. And he was always a couch potato. And people say a lot of the pity breeds are just couch potatoes, but I don't believe that. I believe it stems from the gut biome, the toxins, and that's really my specialty. I work with people with healing their gut, but there's so many layers of that onion you have to peel away before you can actually do that healing with toxicity and parasites. We're all hosts for parasites. So anyway, long story short, I am here. I am working with people and pets and helping them understand how toxic our world is and how important that gut biome is. It's amazing how we transform once we start healing.
Amen to that. And I mean, I think this is what took me down the holistic path. Was I had really significant health issues back in '06 and was lucky to find somebody in the area that was a functional medicine doctor. So back in '85, '86, that was pretty unusual. Or yeah, 90.
Oh, wow.
I keep losing my decades. Sorry,
Very unusual.
2006. There we go. That's the right decade. But that's the thing.
That's
I
early.
was able, and I knew I had fibromyalgia. I didn't want to go to a regular doctor to get diagnosed because then it's on my insurance and blah 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 blah. So this guy's like, yeah, and so I asked him and said, how long is it going to take me to feel better? And he said, probably 6 months. And I'm like, damn it. But what I'd been seeing was my clients coming in, lovely, lovely people, being turned into junkies with fibromyalgia because it was the pain meds, the non-steroidals, and then a little tramadol, and then other narcotics. And at that point, this is even pre-opioid crisis. And at that point, they're asking me to write prescriptions for hydrocodone for their dogs. And it's like, this is messed up. So I knew that was not the answer. I knew the medical system had no answer for me other than pills. And so I'm so grateful. But that's exactly where we started, was working on the gut. And what did I have in my gut? I had C. diff for this third time. I had Tinea suis, I had roundworms, which I'm a veterinarian. That makes sense. I literally have my hands in poop, whether I like it or not, 24/7. But no, you couldn't possibly have parasites as a cause for your chronic diarrhea. So it's like, really? But that's the problem, is that you have to, this is part of why we're here, is that you have to be responsible for your own health, but you also need to find a trusted guide. And that's why I created this program, because it is so difficult to access holistic medicine for people. It's even more difficult for pets. And so here we all are. But one of the things I wanted to kind of get into with you a little bit is detox. So leaky gut has gone from quackery to the front page of Time, basically, magazine. So it's become a real thing. But detoxification is one of those things that, it's like, well, what actually are the toxins? Because we hear this and it's associated with all these yoga princesses drinking tea and all of this stuff, but it is a really massive issue, right? Green juice and So, I mean, so if we look at it from functional medicine, that's like one of the top things that we both deal with, whether it's humans, pets, what have you. But what you said is so important. So let's back up 3 steps. So what are the toxins we're dealing with? What's actually out there in the world?
Oh gosh, we've got BPAs, plastics. Plastics are everywhere. Our water supply is full of BPAs, for one, because plastics. I mean, if you go to the grocery store, what's everything packaged in? Plastic, some form or another. You get little plastic bags to put your veggies in. I don't use those anymore. I take my bags, which some of them are made out of plastic, but I use my material ones the most, and fill those with in my cart. People look at me like I'm trying to steal the veggies because they're going in my bags. I'm like, I'm not going to steal the veggies. I'm going to put them on the tray. Anyway, so BPA's, you got radiation in your water, you got medication that people throw in the toilet or dissolve in their sink, and it goes back to the groundwater. What else? Gosh, you've got to look at your laundry detergents. If you are using, can I say name brands here?
Sure.
Those Tide or those popular ones, and people love Tide because it smells good. You've got um, your dryer sheets, the Bounce, the whatever, I can't remember the name of all of them. I will go for a walk just around. We've got some acreage, and there's a couple houses down from us, and I'll go down to feed my chickens, and I smell them doing their laundry, and I just want to go, please. Oh, I can't stand the smell of those things. They are neurotoxins. They destroy the brain. Luckily for people, we can do functional testing, and I run this. It's one of my go-to tests for my clients, the human clients, is called a total tox burden. And it measures heavy metals, parasites, all the environmental toxins. And when people see the level of, oh, it also does mycotoxins for people that have a mold exposure. When people see the levels of toxicity in their body, they are blown away. And I like, this right
Yeah.
here is what we need to work on before we can really work on anything. When we work on that, we are still working on healing the gut biome, but we're focusing on getting rid of the toxins. With dogs, unfortunately, that test isn't out there. It could be, but and maybe it will be one of these days. So I just assume if it's in my human client's body, it's going to be in the dog's body. Now, depending on how someone's liver, kidneys, their detox system works, will depend on how readily they can get it out of their system. So someone's liver, like my liver, I've done DNA testing, and I do that with my clients too, to see how they detox. So I don't detox well. I've got some methylation issues. So I use I help with supplements. I use sauna with dogs, just getting them off the toxic kibble, because it's very the synthetic supplements in their food, the crappy oils that they'll use, and they heat it to high heats, really high heat, which can cause advanced aging of their cells, which is like glycation is what it's called. So it
Right.
causes our
Advanced glycation end products, the
right.
AGEs, literally age you. Right
Right.
on.
So think about your dogs. If at 5 years old, their muzzle, or even 4, their muzzle's graying, well, probably some AGs going on, some advanced aging. So think about when a piece of toast, you put a piece of bread in the toaster, and it's soft and pliable, and then you toast it, and the outer edges get hardened. That's what's happening to these cells in our bodies too, when we eat overcooked food, blackened food, over grilled food, high heat food. I know I have a lot of people I've had to train to stop overcooking your food, cooking at high temperatures. There's a test we run on blood tests that will tell us if those cells are really aging faster. So, and that we can reverse all that. So that's what the kibble's doing, for one, with our pets. So cooking their food, low heat, and gently cooking some veggies will help mitigate that. And we'll start that detox process, because it starts to heal the body. It starts to allow the body to get rid of those toxins. Um, and then adding in some supplements to help support their liver, to help, like a binder with fulvic and humic acids, to help bind up any toxins that are being released so they don't recirculate through the body. So a lot of steps, but the basic foundation always, always, always is starting with diet. I know some people don't have the time to cook, and there are other alternatives we can look at. And I try to help and meet my clients where they're at, so we can make everybody as healthy as possible.
Amen. And the other reason this is so important is there are studies out there showing that as humans, our level of toxicity is astronomical, but
Mm.
dogs have 64x ours and cats have 93x our level of toxicity because they're on the ground. They're,
Mhm.
they're literally grooming themselves and ingesting all of the stuff, all of the chemicals that you mentioned, glyphosate, DDT, plastics, all of that are on the dust particles. So even if you're a fanatic cleaner, your pet is still being exposed to so much more than you are. And then if you're using like those plug-in diffusers, that's like create a terrific amount of indoor air pollution. And it's
Right.
just we're in a society that for some reason thinks that we have to sweeten everything we eat or drink and make everything smell good. And for me, it's like I really have a hard time with those odors as well. But yet people are just, they've got diffusers going, they've got odors in all of their cleaning products and their laundry products. I mean, at one point there was glitter. We were horrified. Mary Jo and I were visiting our granddaughter and her mom, and our granddaughter has glitter in her lotion, and it's like, what?
Ooh,
What?
that glitter is
And
the
and
most
so
toxic. Oh my gosh, yeah.
yeah, and so we're wondering, I mean, there are so many young girls that are starting their periods at 8, 9, 10, and it's because they've had so much plastic exposure through their lives.
Mhm.
So, I mean, you're singing to the choir, but what I wanted to get across is that detoxing is not a woo-woo thing. It really is going to be, aside from eating a whole food diet, this is one of the other critical things that you must do for yourself and for your pets
Right,
to improve their quality of life and their health span and their lifespan. Because we
right.
are seeing so many dogs at 5 and 6 dying of cancer, which is just absurd.
It's awful, and I wanna go, back a little bit. You mentioned glyphosates, which, it is in everything. It's banned in Europe, and I can't understand why, they're still allowing farmers if you don't purchase organic and or oh, excuse me. So, um, organic food will still have some level of glyphosates, but it is reduced. But it's in our food supply because farmers, if they're not organic, they will spray their crops back or spray their crops with glyphosates to get their crops to all die back at once so they can harvest at once. So there's not a delay in harvesting. Um, and what glyphosates was originally designed for was to clean in plumbing, to clean pipes. And then they discovered, oh, it kills weeds.
It
Well,
kills plants.
so what it does is it breaks down soft tissue. What is your small intestines? It's all soft tissue. Glyphosates they're finding is one of the main causes of leaky guts and destroying the not only that, their tendons, joints. It can cross the blood-brain barrier. It can get into the bloodstream. Ugh, it's just one of the worst toxins we have. And you mentioned how toxic our world is today. I would say, like, my grandparents were exposed to the amount of toxins in 1 year that we get in at least a day now.
Right.
So
And and that's a huge problem. I mean, for each successive generation, their lifetime exposure is increased. I think
mhm.
at this point, 100-fold from the previous generation.
So think about their livers could the toxicity was so mild, their livers had a chance and their kidneys and their detox process had a chance to get stuff out, where we're just being exposed,
Right
exposed,
on.
exposed, exposed. We just can't keep up if we don't stay on top of it. It just becomes a part of your lifestyle if you really want to be healthy.
Exactly. And Exactly. And that's the thing is that, glyphosate, as you said, it's still going to be found in even in organic vegetables in California. They tested all of the wines, even the organic wines contain it.
Mhm.
And it's because it's in the water cycle planet wide. And,
Right.
so even though folks here in the EU or where it is banned, they're still having exposure to it. But it is at a much lower level than folks in the US would experience, or in Mexico, Latin America. I mean, it's insane. So I think the other critical factor for not only detoxing, but preventing ongoing exposure is to make sure that you have a damn good water filter that will take out the pesticides, the heavy metals, the drugs that, I mean, Americans are urinating out Prozac,
Mhm.
narcotics,
Yep.
Valium, all of this stuff at astronomical levels because many people, if you have any kind of anxiety or other depression, things like that, you're probably not on one drug anymore. Many doctors will put you on two or sometimes three medications. And so most of this comes out in the urine or your liver is just getting hammered. But by
Mhm.
making sure you have a way to clean your water for both you and your pets to take out all the stuff we don't want, the microplastics again, that it's just critical.
Yeah, it's I actually have a water distiller, and we distill our water. And there's a myth out there that distillation, um, distilled water is not healthy for you. But gosh darn, what cell in your body doesn't like pure water, pure H2O, right? And I spoke
Exactly.
with a chemist about this before I got my distiller. I said, well, I asked him all these questions. Well, what about, people say it's not good for you and that it leaches your minerals from your body and other nutrients. And he said, no, 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 that's not what it does. He said, what happens is when you have pure water, um, if you have it in a glass, so this is the glass I drink out of, and you see it, and I put a lid on it. He said, if you just have that glass open, then that pure water wants to pull things into it. It wants to bind with things. So I put a lid on mine. I take it off and I drink it, um, to keep any toxins that may be in my air in the house, from entering and attaching to the water molecules in my water. The next best thing would be RO, reverse osmosis. And I mean, I can't tell you the difference it's made in my life to have that distilled water. I had a whole house water system. I still have the whole house water system outside my house. So anything coming in is filtered. And then I put like 7 more filters underneath my sink to filter fluoride, chlorine, viruses, radiation. No, I'm not sure. No, it didn't have a filter for radiation, but the distiller does all that.
Yeah,
Anyway, I have all these other
right
filters
on.
underneath the sink, and I couldn't even hardly get underneath my sink in my kitchen. And then every 2 years, I had to change all that out, which I probably should have done it more. And it was $1,000. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. But I noticed a difference, even though I had all that filtration going. And then I got the water distiller. It was like, I just felt my body just feels incrementally younger as the time passes with drinking healthy water and giving my
Wow.
body just clean water. And I give it to my
That
dogs too.
is that's amazing. And that's something I hadn't really explored. With all the traveling we do, we travel with the Berkey filter, and I think it does a reasonably good job. I think not as
Mhm.
good as reverse osmosis, and certainly not as distillation.
Right.
But on the other hand, too, we're
Better than that.
also not we're not pumping the waste products back into the water system, so they're getting contained to some degree. And
Right.
and this is absolutely correct. It is used as a weed killer, but it's not being sprayed in mass in agricultural fields. So, it's there, but it is at much lower
Yeah.
levels. It's
So
everywhere in the world right now. I mean, regardless of whether you actually can buy it in that country or not, it's in the water. tragically.
it is. And it would take years and years because the half-life, I can't even remember the half-life of glyphosates, but it's, let's say they spray every year and they say that, like I said, I can't remember the half-life of it, but it compounds. So it would take just an exponential a number of years for it to totally clear out of the ground. We have a lemon grove and we've been here 30 years. We use glyphosates in the beginning. Okay. And that was probably a big part of my dogs in the beginning.
Before you knew. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know, but knowing better is doing better, right? So we went organic about a decade ago. And I still know, I'm sure there's still traces of glyphosates throughout our property. So, but it's got to be getting better. That's all I can, knowing better is doing better. And my whole house is totally toxic free. I use everything natural. It's worth it. It's worth and I don't even think it's that much more expensive. I use Branch Basics to clean my whole house. I don't know if you've heard of Branch Basics, but what a good product that you can do your laundry with it, depending on how you mix the strength. So it comes concentrated. You can do laundry with it. You can mix it to bathe your dogs with it. And when I bathe my dogs, they are so soft after using it. You don't have to use any kind of skin or hair conditioner or anything because they're pretty long haired dogs. You can clean your bathrooms with it. So you can clean your mirrors with it. It's just amazing. You can wash your hands with it. So it's like one-stop shopping. You don't have to have this to this to this to this and break it up. So
right on. So, and Jess is asking another one of our coaches if you've experimented with hydrogen water at all or structured water.
No. Now what I do is, like with my water, it's distilled because that's cleaning everything, right? And then I add back in something. So I have something called hydroxygen that I add back into it. Now it's made by one of my favorite supplement companies and they're out of it right now, which I have some coveted bottles that I bought a case right before they ran out, but that does add hydrogen and it's really good for you. My body craves that. I mean, what are we made of? Carbon, hydrogen, oxygen.
Right on. Cool.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's a lot of a lot of companies that are making packaged items, and I haven't found too much benefit from that. But I think what you're doing, or had friends that had they had the whole RO thing, and then they had another device that would add hydrogen to the water. And they found a really big difference as far as their energy levels. But that's one of those deals. You do it, and then you got to drink it, I think, within half an hour or something like that.
Yes. Yeah. It's pretty much immediate kind of I think Dr. Mercola makes a tablet that you dissolve in water to hydronate. And it's amazing. I mean, if I remember before I do a workout, it's a great thing before a workout.
Really, so you can really kill it with your reps, huh? Right on.
Yeah, totally.
Cool. Yeah. Cool. So let's see. Let's jump over to the group for a minute and see if we can answer a few questions there. See what's going on in there. So this group has been just crazy. So for frame of reference, y'all, in August, there were 385 people in this group, and we've been doing things right, but basically we renamed it to Holistic Pet Health Coach, and it has exploded to 27,000 members, which is just astonishing. But the thing is that this points out how much need there is for information. And and the cool thing is we get to look at lots of cute pictures of people and their pets, which is awesome. But
you can't Google anything anymore to find the truth. I mean, you get
right on.
This is amazing.
Yeah, you gotta really kind of work things through. And so people are throwing in the things that have worked for them. We have our coaches in here offering suggestions. There's a lot of information going on. And part of the reason we wanted to really get this group going was because of the holistic pet health coaches like Leah, like Jessica, like Rena that's on as well, so that they could show you what they know and how they can help you, because it's like almost impossible to get access to a holistic vet unless you're really lucky and have that person living in your town. Um, and you'll see our
Yeah, there.
students like Natalie, who's offering free consultations so that she can get some experience. Part of their requirement to graduate is, look at this, a cutie, is to do consultations and record them. So that's why we're here. But the coaches are here to help you and help you get information. So this little guy is constantly trying to eat anything that's not nailed down. And he picked up a twig, and he'd eaten all of the pine needles. And so ended up having diarrhea from the pine needles, and then some again this morning, and she gave him some pumpkin. So she's worried, of course, because he's a young puppy, and he's one of the breeds that are at risk for developing parvo. So this is kind of the thing. Hopefully your buddy is doing okay. And most of the time, I think one of the more important things to do with diarrhea is actually to not feed them and let the
Right.
gut cool down. And what else could this lady do to help cool things down a little bit? So maybe
I might add a little bit of a binder in to bind up any
perfect.
black that's I mean, when I got my puppies are now a little over a year, but they ate everything, and they especially love poop. And we have a lot of that around here with our animals. So, what I did for them is I put a collar on them that I could vibrate. So whenever I saw them going for something they shouldn't eat, I would hit the vibrate button, and they'd be like, "Whoop, don't want that." And
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, and I would also use my voice and give them say no or don't eat it or something, so they would make that correlation with the vibrate, and so that if they didn't have their collar on, they eventually learned. And it took a while, but puppies just want to, it's just like a baby, a human baby. They're always putting stuff in
They
their
just
mouth.
do stuff.
Yeah,
exactly.
So-
But exactly. I think, binders, activated charcoal, something
Mhm.
to
So that
kind
the
of suck
binder,
up
what
the
it,
evil spirits,
yeah, it
as the gut.
right, it helps you eliminate it.
Right on. Yeah. So just let it roll through. So right on to that. Let's see who else has got some stuff going on here. And so Savannah Grace is feeding her dogs freeze-dried nuggets from the store, but they're really expensive, $100 a week. Yeah. So crock pet diet is definitely a more reasonable way to do it, and you can really adjust the volume. I think you do have to cook, keep up with it. But that's the thing, is that anything that is real food is going to be expensive. So
Especially
I think, Savannah, if you
fixing it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that you and Wilma cracked me up. Finally you both were like, oh, roasting pans. And so then you can get more batches done at one go. But this way, I think, this is just so critical. Yes, you're going to pay a lot of money up front, but getting real fresh food into your pets is just so important.
Yeah, and
Because
some dogs can take a while to switch over. Mine did, because my puppies were bed kibble, all of them. And they were like, "What is this stuff you're giving me that doesn't crunch, or that's not dry?" But now, I mean, they have so much energy. They listen well. it's just everything. It just changes everything. And it took a good year. I mean, they had diarrhea on and off for the whole year of switching them, healing, and like we've talked about through this whole conversation, I will continue that healing process because our guts and our liver just need to be supported as a lifestyle.
Amen. And that's where vegetables are so critical because they provide the fiber to feed the microbiome and then also the
Mhm.
phytonutrients to help the liver do its job better.
Right.
So, yeah, right on. Uh,
Who's that cutie?
Melissa, that's a doll. So, Melissa, I'm so sorry. 12-year-old
I
pit
can't.
mix who's been diagnosed with mast cell tumor in December of 21.
Mhm.
It's so tough.
So CBD, I
So,
would definitely get that dog on some CBD. If it's not, I can't read what's in the comments. It's so tiny, but
right.
gosh, that's
Yeah. So basically they're in the Chicago area and they're doing the research of where to go and where to start.
mhm.
Um, so definitely
Well,
CBD, definitely diet's going to be incredibly important.
yeah.
And the other thing is controlling um, histamine release. And yeah, Brown, one of our students, does sort of advanced cancer uh, care for dogs. And then the other thing too is Karen Druckenmiller has had several dogs that pitties that she has. Uh, I mean, she's getting amazing results with them with mast cell tumors. And so
Oh,
I'm going to
wonderful.
drop her name here. Yeah. So we created a plan together and she's really applied that and amplified it so much that it was crazy. The last time she took one of her dogs in that had a tumor, had the tumor removed, and what the vet ended up telling her was that yes, it's a mast cell cancer, but it's so low grade they couldn't even grade it, which is like crazy. But
Now, was
Karen's
that after you
had a
changed things?
So she'd had so this dog Crystal had a mast cell tumor. She implemented the protocol that has been working for her dogs.
Mm.
She did develop another one. Karen had it removed out of an abundance of caution, and what the vet told her was there's no grade. So which means that yes, there are abnormal cells present, but it is not showing any tendencies to metastasize, which is
Oh,
astonishing.
that's
So
amazing. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
so Karn's had a really, really amazing success with this. But
That's
yeah,
awesome.
but that's a tough
So,
one. And I don't know what it is about the holidays, but it seems like we see more cancers and more serious disease pop up. So
yeah, I think
Carrie
a lot of it is
has
more people are indoors than outdoors necessarily.
yeah, it's weird. I don't know if it's just because the holidays are so emotionally charged or what the heck, but
Yeah,
it's
that's
tough.
true. Yeah.
Yeah.
So another
Um,
thing with regard
mhm.
to toxins for people that live near golf courses,
Oh,
um, be aware. I don't know any golf course that doesn't use pesticides. And some people will walk their dogs on the golf course. Well, they're going barefoot all the time, unless you put the booties on them. But they're absorbing all those toxins. I've had now this is before I became a health coach. Um, but interaction with 3 people that lived on a golf course around my area, and all their dogs died young with different cancers. And we correlated, you know, gee, where are you walking them is kind of where we got down to, and it was on a golf course. So be aware of
yeah,
that.
it's really tough because there is a tremendous amount of herbicides, pesticides, and all sorts of things to make the grass look greener.
Mhm,
It's just kind of crazy. So
mhm.
let's see. So we've got Carrie reaching out about her 8-month-old kitty that she adopted from the Humane Society. Um, and she had a booster vaccine and a rabies vaccine, and that night she had diarrhea, and she's had a soft stool ever since.
Mm,
So she's really got a problem still. So we're on she's on Fortiflora, and this probiotic was kind of the veterinary medicine's first venture into it, but essentially it's really not that helpful. And then the Hills ID GI diet.
oof.
Yeah, just kind of
Binder. Need
plain
a binder
issues.
here too. A good
Right
probiotic
on. So I think
with a
you
binder.
exactly. So Espelortii is a good choice, and there's several on the site. There's Restoraflora, um, and then Animal Biome's got a Espelortii product, and then the other one we've been really using is Megaspore. But because her
Mhm.
poor little gut's so trashed, I would start with the Boulardii.
Right.
You can try chicken, um, but you just kind of see if you can go with really super simple foods. So
Mm,
this is where like crock pet diet, if you do the kind of the starter recipe, this may be a good option for her because it's you can use pumpkin or butternut squash with it plus some kale. But poor sweetie, that's tough. But CBD I think would be helpful here. There's a whole host of it, and that's where if you are not familiar with our coaching page, so we've got a page on the website that you can take a look at the coaches and see who's going to be a good fit for you and then consult with them. And what they can help you do is figure out some solutions at home and then also some ways to work with your veterinarian so that you
mhm.
get the best option possible for the kitten. But poor sweetie, she's just had a rotten time, and that's no
Yeah,
fun.
for situations like this, I with my dogs, I specialize more in dogs, but I actually had a vet. This was years ago. Prescribe a antibiotic for a situation like this, and then at the time I was like, I even knew like, really, you think that's gonna take care of that? And anyway, antibiotics. I only recommend them in life-threatening situations, personally. Um, they will destroy the gut biome. Um, so just be aware. I mean, your veterinarians that aren't holistic are another big source of toxins.
Yeah, and being mindful about it. So that's kind of the other issue too is, antibiotics can absolutely be life-saving, but
Yes,
because
for the right
there's really
situation.
poor antibiotic stewardship in the US, we're seeing so much resistant disease. It's just
Mhm,
crazy. Um,
mhm,
so it's really interesting. I'm here in Montenegro, which was part of Yugoslavia, and I
mm,
developed a bladder infection for the first time in 24 years. Not only did I have one of the better physical exams I've ever had at a doctor's office, but they actually did for me what I would have done for your dog, which is to do a urinalysis and a urine
right,
culture and sensitivity to see if antibiotics really were indicated or not. Because
right.
there are many reasons for symptoms that are like urinary tract infection.
Yeah.
So that's yeah, but it was just like, yeah, please. So, and then here's another kind of, but with the kitty, I think you need to get some binders on board. You need to get some stool tests done, although
Mhm.
it's quite um, coincidental that the vaccine happened and then the
Yeah.
diarrhea started. And then the other thing is to detox from the vaccines,
Yeah.
because if that's
That's
kind of the
absolutely
underlying cause, you need to help the body heal with that.
mhm.
Cool. So,
Now
and then we'll kind of I'm sorry, go ahead, Leah.
Um,
Apologies.
now I know I run titers for my, dogs, and I don't know the answer to this. Can you titer for cats? I would imagine you can, to test their
Absolutely.
immunity for future
Yeah,
instead of future vaccines, test their immunity.
exactly. And
Yeah.
especially since this sounds like a pretty gnarly vaccine reaction, definitely a good choice.
Mhm. Right.
Cool. So we've got, let's kind of wind up with this one. So these collagen chews, are they good for dental care?
What are is there a is that like a global question on any collagen chew? Or I always
Yeah,
check
so
ingredients.
that's a number one.
Number 1, look at those ingredients. If my rule of thumb with humans and pets, unless it's real food ingredients, put it on the shelf. If it's no, if you have more than 3 ingredients, put it back on the shelf usually. Depending on I mean, they're real food ingredients. It could be 10 of real food, but that's not usually the case.
Right on. And the thing with like collagen is made from beef hide and it's usually pretty tasty. So I think the what you said about the chews are definitely it. They're marketed heavily because you can put stuff in there to make it tasty for the pet, but what's in there to make it tasty, usually those are not good options. And so you've got two problems you're trying to solve. So if you're using collagen to help your older pet maintain muscle, use collagen. Don't buy a chew. And if you're concerned
Yeah,
about dental health,
just put
then
in their
yeah,
food.
then yeah, exactly. And that's what we do for Hio every year, but every day. I think that's been one of the best things for older pets to help them maintain muscle mass. And then if you're concerned about dental health, then pick something that's going to work specifically there. And honestly, fresh food, on whether you go cooked, raw, what have you, that is one of the most important things because you're going to fix the gut microbiome and the oral microbiome is going to follow suit. Um,
Right.
Animal Biome makes a great product with a Scophilum nodosum, which is the kelp product that helps to reduce tartar accumulation, plus specific uh, probiotic organisms that will help reduce the proliferation of bacteria and plaque in the mouth as well. So, make sure that what you're using is safe for the pet. It's good, high quality food-based product. But a lot of these have,
Right.
flaxseed, brewer's yeast, natural chicken flavor, natural this flavor, whatever. So, and it's hard to know what that actually is. Is it chicken
That's
or is it beaver anal glands?
Well, anytime I see natural flavoring added, that's a trigger for me. Just like the word fragrance. That word fragrance was created by the um, perfume industry not to give away their secrets of the ingredients. So that is a loophole for everybody else to now put a whole bunch of toxins in that word fragrance. So if that is a key, if you see fragrance, um, or you know um, the flavoring, put it back. That's
Right on.
that's red flag.
Right on. Cool. All right. So we're going to wind it up. If you like what you're hearing, shout it out on the group, on our YouTube channel, on the uh, Holistic Pet Health group, on the main page, Dr. Ruth Roberts. And if you want to get in touch with Leah to learn more about how to help your pet detoxify and how to avoid accumulating toxins, I've got her website down there at foodienutritionaltherapy.com. She is a wealth of knowledge on this subject, and she is absolutely correct. If we don't prevent absorption of toxins and don't work at the level of removing them, almost everything else you do is going to be really difficult to make a big impact.
Right.
So, Leah, thank you so much for spending time with us today. You all take care of yourselves, keep loving on your babies, and we'll see you next week.
Great. Thanks for having me. Bye.